Okay, today we're going to talk about uncovering the past and follow along in a Google Slides presentation. You have a couple options. You can just watch it the first time and just listen. And the second time, you could fill in a note packet or you can do it at the same time. That's up to you. So, uncovering the past, the first main idea is that history is the study of the past. That's what history is, the study of the past. What are historians? Historians are people who study the past to understand people's culture. When we talk about culture, culture is the knowledge, beliefs, customs, and values of a group of people. Your culture is many different things. Your culture is your way of life. It's the clothes you wear, the music you listen to, the foods that you eat, the sports that a particular group watches or believes in. So it's a total way of life. Archaeology is the study of the past based on what people left behind, such as artifacts that ancient civilizations have left to be uncovered. When we talk about archaeology, archaeologists are people who study archaeology. They explore places where people once lived, worked, or fought. We'll see many archaeological digs where archaeologists will go back to a site like ancient Egypt, and they will, dig in the ground and try to find artifacts that can help them tell the story of ancient Egypt. The things that people leave in these places can range from stone tools to computers. It really depends on what time period that you're talking about. When we talk about the ancient civilizations, we'd be talking about stone tools and things of that nature. But, 100, 500, 1,000 years from now, when archaeologists study our culture today, they'll find iPhones and computers and tablets and things that we use today as artifacts that can kind of tell our story. Objects can be examined to learn about the past and are clues to how people once lived. So it helps archaeologists and historians kind of put pieces together. The second main idea is that we can improve our understanding of people's actions and beliefs through the study of history. So history can do a bunch of things. It can teach you about yourself. It can teach you about where you're from, what your culture is or was, your ancestors. History can teach you about other peoples and different cultures. We should understand and know about other cultures besides our own, and we should respect and be tolerant of those other cultures. And also, history can provide you with a better understanding of where you live. And that's when we talk about the 5 themes of geography and place and location and human environment interaction and those kinds of things. When we talk about knowing yourself, without your personal history, you would not have an identity. History is just as important for groups as it is for individuals. History teaches us about the experiences we have been through and the values that we share. Knowing others. History shows how cultures are similar and different. Many cultures of the world are very similar, but many are also very, very different. When you know other people, you can understand why people think the way they do by studying history. And then this knowledge of knowing others promotes tolerance and can help build social harmony so that we respect each other's cultures. Knowing your world. History explains how today's events are shaped by past events. Things that happen today in our world have taken place because of things that happened in the past. It also helps you develop mental skills, such as asking questions. We should constantly be asking questions about our world and trying to find answers about our world. And then history promotes good decision-making skills. We can learn from people who made similar mistakes in the past. We can learn from them when we know history. Main idea 3 is that historians use clues from various sources to learn about the past. Fossils and artifacts give information about early humans. We know a lot about them because of the artifacts and the fossils that were left behind. A fossil is a part or an imprint of something that was once alive. And you know a lot about that already from science and our quick trip to Thatcher Park. Artifacts are objects created and used by humans. And as I shared earlier in this presentation, stone tools are an example of artifacts that were used by humans that we can unearth today and find, what their uses were, what they used them for, what they ate. 1,000 years from now, archaeologists studying our lives today will, pull up computers and cell phones and, technology that we use today and can kind of understand how we lived. Writing is another important source of information. We can learn a lot about other cultures and ancient civilizations and other people by writing. Any written communication that they left, we can study and learn what they did and what they taught their children. Any type of notes that they made or kept records of anything. So writing is really, really important. But there was a time when there wasn't writing. So archaeologists and historians use fossils and artifacts to kind of tell the story of those people. Once writing started to come around, that's when we start to have a better understanding of those people. And sometimes the writing was in languages that we didn't understand. So it took us a long time to decipher or decode certain languages. And now that we know them today, we can tell a lot about those cultures. Sources of information. There are a few sources of information. A primary source is an account of an event that is created by someone who took part in or witnessed the event. And that's where primary comes in. First-hand account. That's a first-hand account. Somebody was there to see it and tell about it. A secondary source is information gathered by someone who did not take part in or witness an event. They heard it secondhand. They heard it from someone else and then told someone about it or wrote about it. A textbook, a social studies textbook, is kind of like a secondary source because the people who wrote the textbook weren't around 1,000 years ago to tell about, to write about what they had witnessed. So they've looked at other sources, got the information secondhand, and then put it into a textbook. Historians review and reanalyze information, and their interpretations can change. So they constantly, new historical finds happen, and they can change people's opinions of what happened a long time ago. So constant review and reanalyzing of information can change the opinions of historians. And then if you want to talk primary source and secondary source, to just give you a simple example, if myself and Miss Duff, the math teacher here in sixth grade, one of the math teachers in sixth grade, if we have a little fender bender leaving the parking lot today, we have, I bump into her car and leave a dent in her car. If Mrs. Havens sees that event and then comes and tells someone about it, she would be considered the primary source. If she tells Mrs. Gall about the accident that happened in the parking lot and then Mrs. Gall tells someone, Mrs. Gall would not be the primary source. She wasn't there to see it or witness it. She got it secondhand from Mrs. Havens. So that's what primary source and secondary source are. And that's it for this presentation of Uncovering the Past. Just talk a little bit about how historians and archaeologists work and try to find out about other cultures. We benefit from studying the past. Scholars use many clues to help them understand past events.